Hi, this is Paul Emrich, producer, creator, and host of Beat Our Quest. This episode is sort of a end-of-season recap for the whole first season of Beat Our Quest using the Kids on Bike system. It will contain spoilers, as we're discussing what the whole experience was like to put together a season. If you're looking for where to start, begin with Episode 1, A Guide to High School from A to Rushmore. Thanks for tuning in. Cool. So this is sort of our, after-school special. Thank you all for tuning in. Do you guys all want to sign off? I don't even know. Or, sign on? I don't know.
Tucker Daly Johnston as Alfie Towers. And then the rest.
Ivana Maria Mendez Pavon as Chad. He has a last name, but I don't.
Nate Valentine as Janet Cromwell.
So I just wanted to take some time to talk about what a fun project this was, and I had some things I wanted to ask you guys as actors, and I know some of you guys had some questions and some. So I just kind of wanted to.
Season celebration.
Woohoo! Way to go, everyone! That was we put our goal out there and we did it. So I'm very proud of everyone. This is an interesting experience. This is technically, I think, the first full campaign I've finished with any of you where we we didn't really finish a campaign. That's a poor way to describe it, but at least a series of stories.
Yeah.
It's an ADHD millennials finish a project. It should be celebrated.
And for context, I would say I've been playing D&D with Paul for 12 years?
12
years. Finished the story.
Wow. Yes.
So, we had a 2.5 year long campaign.
Yeah. There were sub stories that were self-containing. So
the first thing I want to talk to you guys is, what do you think about Kids on Bikes as a tabletop system?
That's a great question. I'll take a stab at it. I like it a lot. I think I enjoyed that it leans into the role-playing element. As someone who is not, I don't have a background in improv or role-playing, I feel like it made it a little bit easier, or you leaned into it and made it feel more natural. I do sort of miss getting cool magical spells and power-ups and abilities from 5e, but It was fun. And I like the setting a lot.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the setting allows for just that childish wonder of creativity and visiting tropes that are so known to most of the people who've gone through high school. And it's really fun to just be able to revisit that. I see some limitations to it, but then there's also, just like Nate said, it highlights more of the improv playing that I think D&D, it can be used in D&D, but not always.
Yeah, it strikes a pretty good balance. I think sometimes going into a fight is difficult to kind of figure out exactly what you can do, what you can't, and if anyone's gonna die. But it is a lot of fun, and we just sort of, every time we had to roll a dice, it was a pretty quick thing, and you just blow through everything. So our recordings aren't that much off from what the edit actually is in terms of length.
That's true.
Yeah, I basically just cut off the little gaps of you guys rolling the dice, but there's not a lot of mental math. The one you do miss the enthusiasm of exploding. There's kind of that which is my favorite thing about it. Kids on Bikes is if I ask you to hit a 6 and you have a D4, it's entirely attainable. And I also sometimes think that it's a problem too, because in theory, if I'm asking Chad to stop something and he's rolling a D20, you shouldn't fail it. There's still that sort of kind of problem that at least 5th edition alleviates with a stat bonus.
Right.
You say shouldn't, and yet.
which I do like is the idea is if you do fail, what insane thing happens that forces Chad to roll fail this, and that is what the game evokes that role playing mechanic. It just in general, I think D&D I think is great because it is what it is, but I do think from a podcast perspective, combat is so rough. I just think combat it's so visible. And it's either really just not interesting because it's just dice rolling and comparing numbers and shouting things at one another, and you're missing some of that tactical aspect. So in the next campaign, it's not really combat, and when there is combat, it's not as important as like the stress of it. So I think we'll be seeing how that works out.
I like a little mix of combat and creative problem solving. You know, just like a little combo of both. Because that's the sweet spot.
Well, I love combat. Like, combat is the only time where I get to, like, fight against you guys. Otherwise, like, I'm kind of leading you guys by the nose. But combat in D&D is the only time where I get to do fun things. it's true. Like, there's a whole rule book of monster powers, and the only time I get to use them is when I'm fighting you guys.
Now, ducks reign.
Of all the places we went to, is there anywhere that you wish you could have gone back to, or like a story park? Like, so we just like cruised through story beats, and that was kind of me like seeding things for like future storylines. Is there anything you're like, I wanted to know more about blank?
I wanted to go back to the lab or to the landing site of the meteor and the alien of Jackie's dad. Figure out more about that. Oh shit! Who killed Justice?
That's a great thing, and I'll just get this is. The one thing I wanted you guys to get to is I had this thing where there were these robots essentially supplanting other people and taking their place in the town was like a big story point. So that's why when that episode where you come back and Justice shows up and he's like a weird, kind of like uncomfortable talk, and that's because he's been replaced by these things, which is in the Wellview Research Lab. That was the other room you were going to be able to find. You were going to find all these like dummy robots, and you were going to find the real Justice. And they like are stealing people and using them and using their radio waves to like pass it in so they could, that's what that whole thing is about. So they're studying radio waves. And my favorite thing about this is they're called autonomous supplanting landers, or ASLs, which I think is a very funny thing in the 90s sort of reference to like, oh, what are they? Oh, they're ASLs. So you decide their age, sex, and location.
Right. Aww.
And that was my favorite thing that you guys never got to. That I was just like, but we kept like pushing the story forward so aggressively that we just never had a chance to like go back and look at places.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is so funny how just the matter of choosing the left door over the right door can change your game plan so much.
I didn't expect Jackie to twist that episode. Genuinely was not my plan. I thought for sure you would go to like the robotics room or anything like that. You picked the space place. And I was like, the only story point I have planned. And you brought Jackie there.
Goodness.
Like
and we brought her, yeah.
You could have gone to any of the other places.
I was going to ask you, perhaps ties into this, Paul, what was your favorite or most memorable like train wreck as it related to what you wanted us to do versus what we actually did?
Ooh, yeah.
Love that question.
Oh, the Wellview Research Lab was like just a nightmare scenario of like everything I ever written was like thrown out. Like, and it like truly one of my favorite episodes to like, because I don't know if it's obvious that I'm like winging it because I'm just introducing so many NPCs the whole way through that episode. There's like 5 of them. There's like the southern person who runs the place. And Nate, you have my favorite moment in the entire campaign is when they're like the fire deterrent thing goes off with your backpack and you just go, oh, my backpack. And there's just like this like level of earnesty. The way you say it is so funny. That's the episode with like the French guy.
Yeah, I was going to say, I do remember there being a
phrase.
lot. I think that was one of the episodes or the episode where we were like, fuck, all these guys just have to have like less like the French accent. You're just like, I got to stop putting these accents on for all these different
Plorb.
Yeah. So that was probably the episode. I honestly think you guys should like followed the house thing. By then I kind of learned. I was like, don't expect them to do anything. Oh, I mean, when you guys decided to throw your own party,
Oh yeah,
just straight up was not a thing I had prepared for that whole day either. I was like, well, surely you're gonna go check out the alien girls party. That seems like you were like,
but
I'll
that's
do our
so
own.
90s. We'll throw our own competing, rivaling party.
Those are probably my favorite things, you guys. I've come to like having DM with you guys for a while now. I know like I can only prepare a reasonable amount, and if I prepare enough, you get like the haunted house with like secret plaques and like coded messages. But also like when you guys make me wing it, we do get the Wellview Research Lab episode. So
I have a question for Tucker.
Oh no.
How close would you say that you and Alfie kind of are
Oh man.
Can I expand that to like how much of all of you or your high school selves are in your character?
Oh,
Yeah.
sure.
I would say that I was a super awkward high schooler. And I was pretty into math and things until I discovered theater and found a friend group, but I was still very awkward. There were some popular kids within the theater group. They were also a part of speech and debate.
Yeah, we were.
Speech and debate fucks.
We were the
Like,
jocks of the theater world, which
jocks-
is the most embarrassing thing in
jocks
the
of
world.
the theater world. But
Wow.
I never went goth, although I might have gone a little emo. And I think my taste in girls at that age was leaning towards goth and emo as well.
I think Paramore fundamentally affected like all young men's brain chemistry in that age.
Yeah.
How about you, Nate? How much of Janet is
Yeah,
in
you straight A.
I would say very little. No, I'm the most type B person in the planet. So I kind of started, I can't remember exactly, I have like an idea of a character when I start something like this, and then it kind of finds its own voice a little bit. But I was mostly going for, and I probably said this explicitly to Paul when we were planning, Hermione Granger type, which couldn't be more unlike me. Disorganized, not an overachiever. I mean, I would say I'm not an idiot. I'm pretty smart, but like just totally. I was probably much more like Alfie than I was like Janet in high school. Little goth adjacent, much more into math and science, and definitely not type A. And not a woman, which was very interesting for me to roleplay a woman character.
Oh, we'll get to that.
Yeah. I don't want to get ahead of you there, Paul.
Oh, for me, I was Janet
Really?
in school. Oh yeah, yes, exactly that character. Yes, the secretary of the math club, president of the junior honor society, every club.
It's funny that all people who got involved in the tabletop group game thing were math people, though. That's still like obvious.
What a coincidence.
That is true. Yeah. I also did English forensics, like as many clubs as I could do, while also like dancing professionally in a dance company and doing this other after school activity and this other after school activity, every single thing I could do at all times. I was busy. I would do homework until 2 a.m. every day.
Are you Kim Possible?
Kind of.
Kinda, yeah, I think so.
Explains a lot why I married her.
Nice.
Now we know a lot about Paul.
Too much.
I'm definitely kind of Ron Stoppable coded.
No, but Chad is very different. I was pretty shy-ish in school. Nothing like Chad. Chad's a dream. A dream, baby.
If I have a question for Ivana, is you being, such a smart Janet type person in general,
so smart.
what is it like to play just a dumb chaos machine? And
it's an intellectual challenge. No, it's just going with. So Chad to me is a golden retriever. And I, at all times, was asking myself, what would a golden retriever do in this moment?
Sometimes a little.
And it answers a lot of things.
That actually does clarify a lot. It makes a lot of sense if you view him through that lens.
I think it's like the first episode, you had like Chad down perfectly where like Chad leaves and jumps and taps his fingers on the trim of the door as he leaves. And I was like, that is the most high school dude thing. You knew exactly who Chad was from that first episode.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, okay, when I was in school, I would think like the jock guys are like, oh, they're so jockey because like that's the stereotypical thing from like all the movies, like that they're going to be either rude or like mean bully type. And yes, some of that is true, but I bet there's a bunch of jocks who are just really nice people who are really good at that sport. And so that's what I was trying to go for, just like a nice person.
Just a really, really dumb Travis Kelce.
Yeah, exactly.
It was very interesting to see Chad be so kind. Like, you really broke that as a trope of like the quarterback who's also like well adjusted. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
dumb but like very kind is a very interesting combination of things. So I just want to give Nate a shout out for this, because this is just one of my favorite locations you came up with was like Gamosaurus Rex.
Yes.
Oh,
Which
yeah.
was just like evoked that Toys R Us energy really well. You know what just in the sentence that like I could like, it was like a sense memory like washed over me. And was there any locations that we kind of came up with, or even like a classroom that somebody made up and you like, it like evoked something for you and you were like, I know this space, having it just out of what it was like spoken of.
Oh, when Nate said girly swirlies, and we immediately, I love that we kept going back there.
Yeah, there
Instant.
was like a whole subsection of characters from Girly Swirlies, and it really built out over the.
Alice and her daughter Alice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Alice.
I bet if we like each were asked to draw and like pick a color palette for Girly Swirlies, we all would have like a very similar kind of like build. Like, I think it was like, yeah.
Pink with sprinkles.
Right. Like that tile, you know what I
Pink and
mean?
white tile.
Like
Yeah.
big ceramic ice cream like things. Yeah, so that was really great.
Paul, what was your favorite NPC to play?
That's a good one.
Tucker's dad, Alfie's dad. Like, so often I have to play like the fun, either like the fun quirky character or like an exposition driving character who has to like lay out points. And it's just sort of fun to like exist as this antagonistic kind of persona that, and my best thing is like, I didn't even have to like get out a story beat because it wasn't decided to run into him. So it was just definitely like I get to like establish this like, the status was really clear from the moment he like opened the door, and I got to play in that kind of a world. I thought that was, I think, maybe my favorite one. I mean, like, Alice is a fun character too, because it's this weird, like, every time she showed up I made more things. But as far as like a moment where I was like, ooh, I get to inhabit this villain character that isn't even just like the bad guy in this universe, he's just a fundamentally mean person.
Yeah.
Mm.
It was a lot of fun to do. Just go from like this highball quirky comedy straight into just a Succession type drama of a scene.
That one's brutal to listen to. just Alfie just having his soul crushed.
Yeah,
He's so mean.
it was interesting.
I think it only speaks to how good Alfie is of a character, how strong Alfie is of a character too, that it can just like transfer from like comedic scenes to like these other like more dramatic points. I think because the character was so strong, it was able to carry both of those things.
Yeah, you really fucked me with Jackie Swunch there.
That was really fun. I knew I was going to do that heel turn at some point, and I kind of knew she was sort of my Rita Repulsa type. But it was more fun to play into like the high school girl crush kind of thing. The other thing, oh my God, this is such a specific reference, but the show like American Dragon Jake Long.
Yes.
Yes.
The girl he has a crush on turns out to be like the daughter of the villain. And I like kind of just love that high school angsty trope about like, oh, she tried to kill me last night and we have trigonometry together. Like, I just think that's so insane. And it's like in every one of those shows. And so I just knew that I wanted to do that in some kind of a way. I didn't realize until later that I kind of wanted her to still be sympathetic in some kind of a way. Which is still like, you know, if we continue this campaign, which we'll talk about in a minute, I think there is something to be found there. Because it's very high schooly of like, will they, won't they? Like, I like you, I'll do nice things for you, and then I'm going to be shitty to you, and then I'm going to do like ask you out, and then I'm going to date your best friend. So there is sort of that kind of energy too. One of the things I wanted to ask about, let's just get into that. So one of the things we definitely teased was this Power Rangers type energy of the campaign, and I had bought the Power Ranger book and like had started working through it, and I resisted because we were like, this is kids on bikes, and I think we've kind of talked about like we'll do different campaigns, and so if we were to continue this, I think we would do more of a Power Rangers thing where you would get the Power Ranger rule book, and we would like, it has a whole new base of powers and characters, but we'd probably return to these characters again, if that makes sense, and we would probably lean more into that mechanics rather than the kids on bike story system. because I still think there's some like world that I would love to play in. And we could still have Kids on Bikes, the numbers in the pocket, but this thing has a lot more like options for combat. Like it has like more creative things you can do with like, oh, I specialize in technology, so I can do cool things with like electronics.
Right.
Which gives maybe gives more like it gives like a health bar, you know, something that's fundamentally I think Tucker you nailed, which is like it was really hard for me to come up with like stakes for you guys. I'm in a lot of like Kids on Bikes groups, and they always talk about like, yeah, it's really hard to like, you can't just kill them. You can't just like have them die.
Yeah.
So like, what are the stakes? Like, what if they roll bad? What happens? But what are your thoughts if we switch to a Power Rangers thing? If we brought these characters back, or would you want to keep it in Kids on Bikes? This is clearly not even the next campaign we're doing. We have another thing in the pipeline.
Right. I think as long as we still get to play these characters, I don't know if I exactly care what system we do, because I just want to see them keep going. If that's what you mean, or do you mean switching out completely? Yeah, you mean keeping.
Yeah, it would be with the same story, but we would just mechanically use another system rather than just Kids on Bikes. So you would still play Chad, Alfie, and Janet if you wanted, or if one of you guys wanted to transfer to another school and play another character, we totally make that an available passage. But like, it would let me play with like, cool, now I can have the Wellview Research Lab making monsters that you can hunt down and fight, rather than like mysteries you solve.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Like, because
just different types of puzzles, essentially, and a new rolling mechanic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think if nothing else, that's going to give you more flexibility or freedom to put those three kids in different situations, which will inevitably be fun or interesting, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm so attached to the world we made. I think it's so fun, and the whole idea of like the bleeping out IP is so funny to me. I think like the last episode where we're trying to come up with a word for Ouija, and it's just Tucker bleeping Ouija. Can I say Ouija? And I just go fuck, and that's the only thing that isn't bleeped out is really funny to me. So I don't ever want to retire this world so much as like, let's just try it in a new system.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
You know, you could still make out like Chad can just be really buff, but now he has like ranger powers that buff his athleticism, you know, rather than just rolling a d20. Because I don't know, yeah.
Sorry, I'm going to pivot hard a little bit. We go to a food court that also has a video game store. What floor in the mall in your head is this food court / store located in? And are there other stores? Is it just a food court? What is the layout of this floor in your head that has the video game store and the food court?
So I'm picturing my childhood mall, the Cherry Creek Mall in my head. And in the main floor, there was like a playground area that was a bunch of like rubber breakfast foods. And the food court was around there.
Oh my gosh.
And I believe EB Games, which then became GameStop, was up on the second floor. Right?
I think it was on the first floor.
Was it?
It's so funny that we went to high school together and like we're thinking of the exact same mall.
Yeah.
Because it had the Looney Tunes store was on the second floor next to the movie theater.
Okay, I remember that, yeah.
I remember that.
I remember the movie theater definitely being on the second floor.
This is where I envision it. I'm using my hands.
And then
but that's I think I envision my childhood mall.
Okay.
And I also envisioned my childhood mall, which they're all on the first floor. And it was EB Games.
First floor.
AKA Gamosaurus Rex.
Gamosaurus Rex.
Yeah.
Awesome. I just pictured a food court on a third floor, and just one of those stands just happened to be like a video game store.
What?
And it's surrounded by food and tables.
That's
and just
that's
one
an
store.
insane layout.
This is Chad's mall. This is what.
No, we went so quickly from being in the fight in the store, the great thing like comes down, and then that's closed off, the murder happens, and then we're getting hot dogs, you know? So it was like right there.
But I envision the hot dog guy as like one of those like mall kiosks.
Yeah, it's a kiosk.
Like he's just like a dude selling sunglasses, and next to him is hot dogs. Like that's how I.
But the tacos were also there.
Did anyone say tacos? I think this is you just thinking this in your mind's eye. I don't.
I think Chad just really wanted taco.
It's so funny. Okay. Wait, I have more. Tucker, is there a room in Alfie's house that you maybe thought of, but it wasn't brought up because of circumstance?
Oh man, I had honestly never thought of Alfie's house, and I just said giant manor, and then immediately the Blue Prince game came to mind, and we started doing that. I think because as Alfie, I wanted to spend as little time at home as possible. I never really wanted to flesh it out in my mind.
You know, it's funny from a game design perspective. I had just spent so much time designing Jackie Swunch's house. For that whole episode to be Alfie's house was like me being like, oh, anything but the words I have prepared for Jackie's. So like when we started being like the conservatory and the butler's quarters, I was like, great, just don't say garage, just don't say kitchen, you know?
Don't say pigeon.
It's so funny.
You know what other NPC? I don't know. This is a weird episode. You know, Jessica Pigeons was probably one of the other weirder things that we just did in this show.
So my wife was she's catching up, and she was just listening to the episode where Jessica Pigeon shows up the other day. And she's folding laundry, so she's kind of half paying attention. And all of a sudden she goes, wait a minute. Why is she a bird person? Oh, right. Okay, is this pigeons? Is this Jessica Pigeons? All right, now it makes sense. Bird person. I get it. But she was so caught off guard for a second.
It's the most insane thing we do in the entire show, far and away.
Just a totally unaddressed, unclarified nugget of absurdism. Not that it's a totally hardcore realism plot, obviously, but just the idea that she's a bird and no one ever makes any fuss about it is so funny.
It kind of reminds me, God, I don't know, saying now out loud kind of reminds me of like Rocco's Modern Life.
Yeah.
Just sort of like, there's people and there's a giant frog dude, you know? And it's not even that weird.
Yeah, it's like she's the one BoJack Horseman character in the real world.
Yeah.
Okay, question for everyone except Paul. What is a stat that you decided to really invest on, and how do you think it relates to your character growth?
Oh, wow. I only got 2 levels up. I'm looking at my sheet right now. This is a really good question, and I'll kind of wing it here. I'm not sure if this is exactly what I was thinking, but I brought my charm from a 12 to a D20, and I have a +1 next to it for some reason. Someone go back through the library and tell me why that's there. But yeah, it could have been from the start. Anyways, I think I was trying to lean into the like brown-nosing class, not I guess like teacher's pet of Janet, and just being like every adult in my mind, in my perfect world, every adult in town would be like, there's Janet. She is so sweet and hardworking, and she did that favor for me that one time, and she gets A's in all of her classes, and just basically like a grade grubber energy. So I invested in the charm to try to make that role play realistic.
I really like that.
Yeah.
Know Janet so well.
Yeah, and then I invested in Brawn with my other one because I wanted her to be better at fighting because it was a D6 and we were supposed to be Power Rangers.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I left my brawn untouched at 4.
Oh,
yeah.
But I brought my grit. Yeah, grit was my 12. My brains was at 20, but we never really... He's smart in a really not smart way. I brought my grit up because it seemed like everything that Alfie did was like a weird Hulk rage.
it's true.
Just being like a small little loser boy who would just get really angry at things and somehow win sometimes. Seemed like a lot of fun.
To me, Oh, sorry, I don't have the sheet with me, but I should go get it to get this accurate. So yeah, chat about something.
And that was actually like on the idea of leveling up. Like, I think that's something I really look forward to for the next thing is you guys basically get levels up every session, which is very fun because I think that like that energy of a slightly new toy kind of really keeps you coming back. And just like by the 5th, 7th, 10th time you're playing this character and be like, I just am not good at flight. There's nothing I can do to, if that's what we're dealing with, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. There is, I feel like that is something that I kind of like about this game is that this game being Kids on Bikes is that you are encouraged to fail more and it doesn't have the same stakes. I know that you were saying there's no stakes because you can't kill characters or it's difficult to kill characters, but failing on a flight roll and getting caught is just as fun as succeeding as opposed to sometimes the way I think I related with D&D, which is if you swing your sword and miss, like you just have to sit there until your next turn or things like that.
Yeah, actually I think there's more consequences for the dice roll regardless, like versus in D&D it's just like a numbers game. And there is more fun, almost like like when you roll a 1 and you fall to your whatever. That's the fun part of failing a skill check in D&D. But there's nothing really interesting about like failing an Arcana roll or like an Insight roll.
Yeah, there's a lot that's like you fail and just nothing happens.
Yeah.
All right, I have it here. It's fight went up and grit. So I think it's a very natural thing in a boy's life, a teenager, for the fight to go up and want to fight for what they stand for, seeing more inequalities in the world, seeing a guy at a museum getting shot and nothing happening about it. And that's trauma. I think it's heavy.
Chad could have been radicalized further.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, exactly. I actually had a notebook and I just took random notes of sessions. I think I'm going to try to find random statements to see if we can remember what they are. Martha, Alaska.
Martha, Alaska.
Martha, Alaska, episode 5.
She was
okay,
Miss Arkansas.
There is a Martha, Miss there's an improver coach guy who I really respect called JPC, whose school of naming is name location. Okay. So it'll be like Maria CVS or Martha Alaska or like Johnny Arizona. And he's like, the reason is like it'll stick to you and it doesn't have enough burden to like it's easy to remember. Versus like some of those weird names were like the last episode where you ran into like the techie guy and you were talking about him and none of us remembered his name. And I was like, oh yeah, there's a consequence when you don't really remember the name of like Schmolky or whatever his
Schmolky.
Right. How many beeper babies do you remember?
Oh boy. I couldn't remember when we were in the middle of it, so do I have to know their names or just what their shape was?
Just what shape.
Iron Mite.
Iron Mite? Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole deer of the holy field?
Holy grass.
Holy grass.
Which is, wait, really quickly, that's one of my first dumb 90s references is Iron Mite is Iron Mike, named after Mike Tyson, and the deer of the holy grass is Alexander Holyfield. And the idea is that he bit his ear off, and that's why the beeper babies make people bite people. So there's like the beeper baby arc is
deep.
A Beanie Baby reference, a reference to the Mike Tyson Alexander Holyfield fight.
Incredible.
There's a lot of little dumb enough. I don't even think I gave you all of the names.
There was Fiddlesticks.
I don't know.
Yep.
There was a violin.
Mm-hmm.
That's Fiddlesticks.
I don't know what burnt toast was.
Comatose.
I know there's like 7. I only wrote down 4. And the only 2 that have not been mentioned are an ant and a raccoon. Oh, the ant was Iron Mite. So never mind.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's the wrestling raccoon, which is a muscular raccoon wearing a wrestling singlet.
Yes.
And then there's Pete Moss, which is a guy wearing an office uniform made out of grass and dirt. And there's the Parament, which is a piece of gum wearing a beaker and wearing glasses. So he's got a little beaker and he's wearing glasses, and he's the Parament. And those were pretty dumb. Some afternoon I sat down and wrote a bunch of stupid wordplay monster jokes.
Awesome.
That was a dumb afternoon. Anyone got any other little questions?
My Cluckies, get your chicken frozen, boiled, or fried. My Cluckies is the best chicken I've ever tried.
Yeah, McClucky.
So I'm just reading.
The other thing I would hope to one day get back to if we ever did this campaign more was the Lisa Frank journal.
Yeah.
Which I had a whole huge, deeply complicated thing, and hopefully we'll get to that one day. But I also think there's something to be said about like all those 90s shows like seeded story arcs constantly and then like just never revisit them.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. I have two. These are like sort of adjacent to what we've already asked, so if we want to skip them, we can. But I wrote, what was the most challenging or out of your comfort zone scene or experience playing your characters, or in Paul's case, DMing? I don't know if you have any snippets that jump to mind.
Yes, it was actually the first question I was asked during the whole campaign, which was describe the pass or the special football move. Because I was ready, I had all my terms, I like studied, knew my vocab, and then all of a sudden he asked me that, and I blanked. And I couldn't think of a single football term other than ball. And
Gave us sub hub up.
you know,
Up.
Magic was born out of that moment.
I just panicked.
That's really funny. I didn't realize that.
I think one of the most challenging for me was the phone call to the liquor store where I had to pretend to be my own father.
Oh, yeah.
I kept failing rolls, but also just trying to stack confidence and gravitas on top of Alfie is a difficult thing to do.
It's also like one of those weird things with role-playing and tabletop games where you came up with these incredible like responses and I have to make you roll regardless, and your roll does not show the merit of your argument. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, well, I can't because I guess that's like the whole point of the game. Like, it's not interesting if you could just ace it with responses. I kind of feel like that whole episode for me was really interesting because it was basically like me winging mechanically, like, how do we run a party? It also might be the episode that we have like the most on the cutting room floor. Like, we have a whole chunk of that party that we like did party scenes that just like got cut from the recording because it was just like there was so much of you guys setting up and we had to at least get to Trixie Steele coming to talk to you guys. Yeah. I was like, hey, I have to have something happen, otherwise you go to school the next day and all your friends are dead. Like, I don't know what else to do. That was a good one. It's a good question.
Nate, what did you have?
Yeah, I don't know a specific scene I'd have to think about. I think probably interacting with Trixie Steele was. I think I found it challenging to find a line of like what was funny and what's not funny about like girl on girl savagery. And I think I eventually found it. But I feel like there's a couple times where she's like, she being Janet is like out of character mean, and then it eventually became an endearing rivalry. But I think obviously the entire thing was a learning experience for me, as improving as a teenage girl. But yeah. I think
and then Paul had to do the same.
That's. I guess I'm underselling that you had to improv as like 15 teenage girls.
No, but like I had to do the like. But I think what you're talking about is very interesting because we're navigating like how mean can we be to one another without like crossing a line. Like especially for Janet, we've clearly established that Trixie has been mean to you for a long time prior to her introduction in the show, and it's tricky for you to do anything like you throwing her pants out the car door seems mean, but like it also seems in context like she's probably done meaner things to Janet over the last 7-8 years.
Yeah.
And so, but you also then have to toe the line because you didn't want to do anything that was so awful that it like makes Janet unforgivable.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then we're also even like walking the politically correct lineness of like, I don't want to say anything that I would not feel comfortable saying about anyone in 2025.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that was definitely a part of it as well.
Yeah, I get that. But I thought it was really interesting. I think it was very fun for me to have two people play outside of their gender. As a DM who has to do that every now and then, it's kind of nice to see that burden on other people.
And I think some of my favorite moments were when Chad and Janet got to do, like, me and Ivana were doing kind of like the inverse gender jokes, and it was like really funny for me. And yeah, those are definitely some of my highlights from the season as a whole. So yeah.
If anyone can remember, do you have any crazy schemes or dice rolls that surprised you, or the consequences either successfully or unsuccessfully?
I have one right out the gate.
Okay.
Excellent.
So it's like episode 3 where you go to gym class with Jackie Swunch and you do the 3-legged race and you guys like have a crazy roll and you're on the football team because you do this in front of the coach of the football team. Not a story point I ever planned on happening. I was not planning on you impressing it. That was going to be the embarrass yourself in front of Jackie moment that has never happened in the story fundamentally. Like in the like
Alfie is a god.
in the archetype of like the rom-com, you never had the spilling coffee all over yourself while you meet her on the street moment. You meet her kind of in gym and then like crush it and then get recruited to the varsity football team. And it's like kind of what I love about the dice, right? Like it's not how a story is written. Like it just isn't. You'll never find a movie where they do that.
Yeah.
That's mine, at least. I don't know if anyone else has one, but that fucked my plans for the day. And Alfie, completely no intention of you joining the football team.
Oh, man. Well, I thought I was going to fail all of the challenges, but I kind of scraped by, I think. Got like one really good and then ended up on the football team. And it was never really decided what position I played.
Well, you do that. Yeah, you play a game and they put you in for the final game. And like in my mind's eye, it's very like tropey where it's like fourth corner, like we're putting Alfie in, the other guy got hurt. Like Alfie, he's never been like, and I don't know, like fill it in your brain, or whatever it is.
I think I ended up being like the wide receiver.
I can't remember one specific, but I knew I was going to fail every brains roll. Like I just knew it. I had a 4 and it wasn't changing. And it was kind of fun to always try to justify why I was failing a brains roll constantly. So that was different excuses or different distractions was always fun to create when just like, yep, I rolled a 2, needed it a 5.
I have one more, which was what's everyone's favorite part about playing their character? I don't know if we already touched too close to that, but they're all a little samey. Yeah. All right, last question I have here, everyone. What was your favorite part of playing your character? And Paul, if you have a favorite NPC or a favorite part of being the all of the NPCs.
I got one. I kind of liked being Jackie Swunch. It's one of the ones that's like very close to my actual speaking voice, so I didn't have to waste too much time like thinking about my accent or anything like that. It's just a little pitched up and softer. And it's kind of nice to be vulnerable in a way. Like most of the time she is kind of just being, and then like when she's like cornered, she's being a catty mean girl, but not in the same way Trixie is. It's more just like, whatever, stupid, I don't care. Kind of that like not bully, I don't know, you know that the high school girl trope she exists in, like, and I think I like enjoyed living in it a little bit.
Cool. I think Jackie and Alfie, I know we've mentioned it a dozen times throughout the season, but that was definitely my favorite part of the whole story, was because it was funny, it was legitimately endearing, talking about how good Kids on Bikes is at like evoking that high school mentality. Like you could just, you could kind of put, not that I was ever in quite that exact relationship, but you can kind of feel that, like that awkward hand-holdy first crush kind of energy. And then also had, she had some teeth and some good jokes, and Alfie was great. Like you guys doing those scenes were so fun to watch.
I think my favorite part about playing Alfie this season was sort of the way that his arc worked. Because when I had kind of came up with Alfie, I was thinking, sort of tag along, kind of makes a bunch of mistakes and tries his best, but fails all the time. And it did not turn out that way. And he got semi-popular, and he got good at a lot of things. So it was fun to change that while still being the awkward, mumbling guy. Which it is very similar. Because when you brought up high school relationships, that's exactly what all of my high school relationships were like, and even into college. I got a small little story. I had a crush on a girl in college, and we were having like a study date, and I bought both lattes from the library cafe, and the guy actually put like a heart in the latte foam. I did not ask him to do that, but he did it. I was like, oh, I'll carry this over, and maybe and then she can see it. So I left the lid not fully on the thing, and she grabbed it immediately and dumped a bunch of latte over herself. And that was completely my fault. And now I'm married. Not to her.
You made it.
Oh my god. That's so
That's
funny.
awesome. That's awesome.
I enjoyed playing Mad Libs with the stereotypical life of a boy. That's basically what I was doing, just taking the most stereotypical tropes and then just filling in words as wrong. And that made Chad right.
True. It really worked.
In the world of like Chad being dumb, one of my favorite things that would happen is when Chad had a brilliant idea, like the protein bar, and being like, I'm protein. And like when Chad has those moments of like, eureka genius out of his own idiocy, yeah. I kind of really enjoyed those moments.
Yeah. Mine was probably favorite thing, I think, kind of being able to play a sort of atypical leader. I would say at certain times Chad was in charge when there was like something big and scary, and then other times it seemed like Janet would be in charge, but not because in like a D&D group you're like the big strong warrior or whatever, just because she was often the only time who had a clue about what was going on. So kind of like dragging the other two sort of by the ears, figuratively, sometimes literally, and being in charge in a sort of not a traditional way was pretty interesting, I think.
Yeah, you're totally right, especially as the type A person, being like, guys, I know you're having fun being boys, but like we're here to solve this mystery.
Yeah.
Like, the number of times like Tucker and Ivana would get distracted doing something, and it's like, guys.
Yeah, well, just it's in the first episode, right, when we're standing there and Chad says, will you take a picture of me with the skeleton? It's like just so like herding cats or something in a really funny way, where it's like there's so many larger things going on, and you're kind of playing like the straight man but not fully a straight man. So
yeah, you walk the straight man but still a teenager line very well. Like you never felt like you were playing outside of the honesty of a teenager. if that makes
Totally.
sense. Like, you never felt like you were like an adult in a teenager's body being like, team, we got to do this thing. It was still like, guys,
Yeah.
we're going to get a bad grade. Like,
Yeah.
we're going to get in trouble with the teacher if we don't do this, was like always like the energy. All right, cool. Well, as a temporary sign off for your characters, this was very fun. So thank you guys.
Yeah. Thanks, Paul.
Yay!
Thank
Yay.
you.
Paul. Thank you, listeners.
Woo-woo.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you
Yeah.
all. If you're listening to this, we'll start Triangle Agency soon once we kind of
Woo!
figure out the basics.
What?
Look forward to that one. That'll be fun.